Yo, what up, my people? It's Emmy the producer here again, and this is how I mixed the drums for YAS. Alright, let's dive right into it. I'm going to start off by showing you how the drums sound without the effects in. So this is it. Alright, now this is with the effects in. This is the drums with the effects in. Alright, that's a very big difference, as you can hear, a very big difference. Now let me start off by showing you what I did with the kick. So I didn't have to EQ. I don't know, for some reason I just like going on full triggers with my kick. So what I just did was I gated it using the fab filter gate, and what I did was to remove the background noise so that it won't be coming into the input too much when I send it down to the triggers, so the triggers don't pick any other signal aside from what I wanted to pick. Then I added the filter limiter, sorry, the fab filter limiter, and I boosted it to plus 17 decibels. Yeah, it's a lot, but I had to. Now going in with the triggers, as you can see, this is where I did all the magic, and as you can see right here, I went on full triggers and it did a bit of compressing and gave it a bite, added the depth to it and the bass so that it could be more punchy, as you can see right here. So, and that's why we have this. That's why we have this right now. So I'm gonna go with the snare now. I'll show you what I did with the snare. Let me just mute everything. Let me solo the kick for you again so you can hear, as you can see. So that's what we have on the kick. Now for the snare, what I did was I had to send an FX channel, which I placed my reverb inside. I used the Valhalla reverb, and the Valhalla reverb I used the where's those FX send for the drums. I used the plate, I used the plate so that it could give it a bit of this room feeling and let it not be looking too dry. It's really nice when you throw in some reverb to your snare. The amount size is just good. Then I did the EQing. I cut out the low end like 59 hertz and gave it a bit of slope right in the middle and gave it the bite, not like a crisp, but that sweet spot. Then I compressed it. I had to do that compressing, but I had to do all that before I send the triggers in. And mind you, I didn't go on full triggers because I needed the snare to sound as natural as it could sound. So I compressed, and I also sent in the SSL monobus compressor, and I did that because I needed the snare to have body. As you can see right there, I needed it to have that body into it. So I did more of as you can see right here, it's more of, sorry, where is it? Yeah, I did more of the weight. I added the weight into it, so it's more of a fast release and slow attack. Then also I had to throw in the limiter too into it, so I went plus 12 decibels in it. now where the whole thing works, as you can see here the way the snare sounding in the triggers. So I used the DW Collector's Copper series, and I turned off the room because I wanted my own feel of the room. That was why I added the reverb to it. And as you can see here, I didn't go all full on the triggers. I had from the source, like really well from the source, then I added the triggers inside. So the triggers just like backing it up. And the reason why I didn't do that is because I didn't want all those little source, like when the snare has the ghost note coming in and all that. I didn't want them to be out, to just go away from the mix. So I had to do that. As you can see here, if you notice, like in the EQ I did, I have the body, like the main body here. Then in the triggers I gave it the bite. So the triggers is just like helping it, to give it that pop, pop. So I'll play it out for you so you hear. Um, okay, let me off the triggers. You hear? Do you hear that? Now with the triggers. Alright, so that's what we have. Now for the toms, okay, let me go with the hi-hat first. The hi-hat is nothing too serious on the hi-hat, just cut out the low end, increase for bytes the higher frequency. I gave it the limiter, I compressed it so that it doesn't be everywhere. Then I throw in the SSL X compressor, and this is just basically like a stock preset inside this. I just threw in and it worked. What works. So it's not that deep in it. Now back to the toms. Let me just take you to where the toms were playing. I think this should be a good one. Now I didn't EQ the toms because I wanted it to sound as natural as it could, but I threw in a bit of the trigger. So what I did was, for the whole toms, I gated the whole toms, just because other inputs were getting in, so I had to gate it a bit. Then I added the triggers. When I added the triggers, as you can see, it's like 50-50, and I had the DW's collector series, as you can hear the toms. So obviously it's not how I had to change the pitch according to what the drums was tuned to, so that it could sound exactly. Then I just gave it a bit of the high bite in the EQ right here, and I compressed it. I did a good compressing right here before I added far filter compressor to make it more compressed. Yeah, so that's why you have this. So without the effect on this, you can see how it's sounding. This is the original toms. Now with no much difference, but if you put your ears to it, you understand. Same thing goes for the other, for the tom 2. So the tom 2, now what I added this, if you notice, this tom 1 was more like seated, so I wanted the tom 2 and the floor tom to have this aggressive touch to it. So I threw in the SSL native drum, the native drum strip. So this I was able to, I didn't use the gate here, I off the gate, just put the transient shaper, and I did a little bit of tweaking to this. As you can see, all the whole things are on here. So that was what gave it this whole, you see, it has that really good bite to it. I added it to the tom 2 and the floor tom. You can hear that. So the floor tom itself and the triggers, I gave it the low end really well. I made sure this is what it sounds like. Now let's go with the remaining 2, which is the overhead. There's a whole lot going on this overhead. So now let me just quickly just go on with what I did. So if you can see, I have more things on the right than the left, and I'll show you why. Now I had to do a lot of cutting out. I used like three EQs, which I had to put presence. I had to cut the low end and put the bites. So what I did was, the reason why I used the three because I had to use one to cut out the low end. I had to use the second one to actually give it the high I want. Then I used the third one to shape the cymbals to the kind of sound I want. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah, frequency kind of adds to the shaping of sounds. So I used the third one to shape it to the sound I want, the cymbal. So yeah, this is the second one, and this one had like this stereo kind of thing going on, as you can see. So this is what I used to actually shape. I just, after like I cut, I had to give it a slope so that what I'm shaping here wouldn't affect. And then I went in with the whole compressing, gave it limiting. Yeah, So that's what I did right there. Then what I added for this, because obviously panning is one of like the most important part of the mixing in these drums, because I had to throw in the Bermuda pan, which I increased the width like way to like 140%, because I needed it to be like far away from the ears, but when it comes in, you know that it's just right inside the ears. So now, as you can see, I panned my hi-hat to like 35% to the left, the toms full panning to the left. I have the tom to 20% to the right, understand? Then I had the floor tom all the way to the right, so you know the effect. Then the overheads, the right and left, all the way up. So now I'm going to play this again with the whole drums. I'll throw in the loop so you get. And that is how I mix the drums for YAS. Stay tuned so I show you how I mixed the rest of the elements in the mix.